Okay, let's cut the crap. We're diving into something.
Yeah.
Well, something specific today. You send over a whole load of source material, articles, notes, the whole 9 yards, all about Kid Rock's new joint in Nashville, the Detroit Cowboy.
And yeah, these sources, they've got a very distinct flavor. Right off the bat, the material says this deep dive is for listeners 18 and up. It actually encourages raw, unfiltered language, says we should just go for it.
Absolutely. No punches pulled in this stuff. The sources cover why his old bar supposedly tanked, what this new place is like, Kid Rock's take on, culture, politics, everything. And it's all delivered with this really specific kind of in-your-face style that's right there in the text.
Right. And as artificial intelligence, we're basically built to process this kind of information. Break it down for you.
So our mission here, simple. We're going to pull out the key claims, the descriptions, the general vibe from these sources, give you the picture they paint.
Exactly. We're just navigating the info presented in the material.
Okay, so before we really jump in, listen up. The source material itself has instructions for us. It says you need to like and subscribe to this deep dive right now. Seriously, that's coming straight from the source docs.
Yeah, it's quite direct. So you heard the source. Now let's get into the actual content.
Let's start where the sources do. Kid Rock himself. How do they frame him?
They call him a living legend, an international hip-hop, country, and rock superstar. They mention Michigan, the long career, like 3 decades, 12 albums, Grammys, nods, 5 of those.
And sales. Big numbers.
Yeah, 35 million records sold, according to the material. They definitely position him as this major figure known for, and this is their phrase, a rebellious persona and patriotic themes.
Okay, so established star. But then the sources quickly shift gears to his previous bar, the one in Detroit. Kid Rock's made in Detroit. Didn't end well, apparently.
No.
Oh.
Closed in 2020. And the sources are, let's just say, blunt about why they think it closed.
Blunt doesn't quite cover it. The sources flat-out claim it was because woke libtards tried to cancel him. That's the quote.
Yeah. And they tie it to comments he made. They call them hysterical comments about Oprah, the women on The View, and Colin Kaepernick, specifically mentioning Kaepernick kneeling for the national anthem like a little bitch.
Wow. Okay, that phrase, like a little bitch, that's verbatim from the source material we were given, reflects that unfiltered tone they wanted.
Exactly. And the sources then give Kid Rock's side. Reportedly, he apparently blamed figures he called Al Sharpton and his race-baiting clowns.
Race-baiting clowns.
Yeah.
Okay. What was their issue, according to him?
Protesting Confederate flag stuff, which Kid Rock, according to the sources, says he'd already dealt with years ago.
The sources also say he felt heat from corrupt city officials, the powers that be. Claimed they were getting pressured because his bar was somehow getting in the way of big things planned for Detroit.
Right, and he apparently insisted it wasn't the Detroit people causing problems, but, quote, a couple woke snowflakes making noise. He used that old line, empty wagons make the most noise.
So the picture painted by the sources is definitely one of, external forces and political stuff shutting it down.
And the source material's own summary of this, they call the whole situation bullshit.
Yeah.
Said it was orchestrated by idiots.
They also described Detroit as a Democrat-run city that basically shot itself in the foot, letting the bar close. Because, according to these sources, it was the #1 restaurant there.
Which, again, big claim. But it fits their narrative. The city made a politically driven mistake based on what the sources say.
So how did Kid Rock react to all this bullshit, according to the sources?
His reported response, dude, I don't care. Called the bar mailbox money.
Mailbox money. So passive income, not his main gig.
Seems like it. The sources say he just decided not to renew the lease, even asked for a sign back, which he apparently hadn't even paid for, and they said sure.
And he claims the new place is way more profitable.
Yeah, the sources quote him saying he's made more money in a year in Nashville than the Detroit place was ever going to pay me in 20. Really drives home the source's point that he just moved on. I wasn't that bothered.
But still holding a grudge against Sharpton.
Apparently, the sources make a point of mentioning he claims he sends Al Sharpton a freaking bunk cake because he's still pissed off about it all.
A freaking bunk cake. Okay, that detail definitely underlines the lingering feelings described in the sources.
So yeah, section 1, according to this material, successful bar gets, well, the source might say fucked up by politics and cancel culture. Kid Rock walks away, maybe a bit pissed off, but ultimately fine.
Which sets up the next part perfectly. Heading south to Nashville, the Detroit Cowboy.
Exactly. The sources frame it very directly. He flipped the bird to the cancel mob and went to greener pastures of red Tennessee.
Add the description of the new bar. Sounds like it meets expectations based on the source material. Everything you imagined it would be.
Yeah, they call it a perfect blend of Detroit grit and Nashville swagger. And there's this motto mentioned, go where you celebrate it, not tolerate it. That seems key to the source's portrayal of the place.
So what hits you when you walk in, according to these notes?
First thing, massive eagle holding an American flag in its beak. The source just writes, awesome next to that.
Awesome eagle. Got it. What else?
Photo of Dolly Parton, naturally, and a giant ice eagle sculpture. So eagles are definitely a theme. Lots of immediate, strong visuals setting the tone.
And the decor.
Memorabilia.
Oh, yeah. Filled with Kid Rock's personal stuff, telling career stories, and gifts from other musicians. The sources highlight something from Johnny Cash, suggesting it might be the most valuable thing in the entire place.
Okay, valuable cash item. And anything for the Instagram crowd.
Yep. A giant eagle mural. The sources predict it'll be huge for selfies, like one of the most viral social media selfie spots in all of Nashville. They're definitely aware of the branding potential.
Makes sense. What about food and music? It's Nashville, after all. Right. So despite the rock and roll vibe, the sources stress it's a high-end dining experience. They name the chef, Marino, and list some dishes.
Like what? Give us examples.
Let's see. Bourbon peaches, or maybe Georgia peaches, they mentioned both. Line shrimp tacos, very famous tier scallops with corn puree and corn salsa, and something called double up crab. Sounds pretty fancy.
Definitely not just bar food then. And music.
Yeah, the plan is for a lot of live music. Suggests it's meant to be a lively venue, performance-focused.
So the overall picture from the sources is visually bold, lots of Americana and personal history, surprisingly upscale food, plus live music, all wrapped in this specific cultural identity.
Which leads us to a really specific area the sources focus on, the Eagle's Nest VIP room, described explicitly as Kid Rock's personal bro cave.
His personal bro cave.
Okay.
What's in the cave, according to the sources?
Well, taxidermy, which kind of fits the vibe described so far.
And
then it gets more specific. The sources list Golden Trump 45 handguns.
Golden Trump handguns. Right. Anything else?
Cigars are mentioned. And the big one, seems like, is a Trump DJ booth autographed by the man himself.
Autographed. Do they say what it says?
They do. The source quotes the inscription, Donald Trump to Bob You're the Greatest, and a DJ stand.
The sources really emphasize this. Clear connection being made.
And this room is already getting some high-profile use.
Yeah, the sources note that J.D. Vance interviewed Theo Von there recently, so it's being used as a backdrop, a platform.
And more taxidermy.
Oh, yeah, almost forgot. A literal lion right there, like a lion skin. Just adds to that whole aesthetic the sources are describing.
So this eagle's nest, as the sources present it, is just packed with stuff that sends a very clear message. Political, personal, unapologetic.
Totally. The sources say the vibes are unbelievable and even call it the honky-tonk now.
The honky-tonk. Not just a honky-tonk, but the honky-tonk. What do you think the sources mean by that?
It feels symbolic, right? Like the sources are saying this is the new center, the real deal for that specific cultural viewpoint they champion. Okay, moving from the place to the person. The sources try to define Kid Rock's whole worldview.
Yeah.
And how the bar reflects it.
Definitely. They talk about his rebellious persona and patriotic themes. Call him an American rebel.
And the bar itself is framed as a response.
A direct one. The sources describe the bar as a giant flaming middle finger to the cancel mob. That phrasing keeps coming up, linking back to the Detroit story.
What about his views on, say, Hollywood? The sources touch on that.
Oh, yeah. Strongly. He reportedly thinks Hollywood got uncool years ago, that people are not buying their BS anymore. BS meaning bullshit, presumably, given the source's tone.
And he embraces being outside of that.
Yeah, the sources quote him saying he's proud to be Hollywood's kryptonite. Positions him, and by extension the bar, as explicitly anti-mainstream entertainment.
Is there an example the sources use?
Yeah, there's this whole bit about Bruce Springsteen. Kid Rock's view, according to the source, is that Springsteen wants to be buddies with Hollywood, hangs out on their yachts, talks garbage about the president in Europe.
Okay, and Kid Rock's reaction to that, per the source.
Reportedly told Springsteen, "Don't be a pussy."
Wow. Direct quote from the source again.
That's what the source claims Kid Rock said. And then immediately after that, quote, the source material adds its own 2 cents, saying Springsteen is definitely a pussy.
Okay, so the source isn't just reporting there. They're weighing in with some pretty harsh language themselves. Good to clarify, we're relaying their words and their tone on that one.
Absolutely. And they explicitly link all this Kid Rock, the bar, to the Trump and the freedom movement. They even bring up Bill Maher going to the White House, kind of placing these figures within a specific cultural map they're drawing.
And Kid Rock's take on politics generally, does the source get into that?
Yeah, they claim he said things like, "We don't need any more enemies, just friends." But also that he sees Democrats as, well, screwing it up, being nuts, and not halfway reasonable.
So the sources paint him and the bar as really embedded in one side of a cultural divide, using his reported words to echo their own political frustrations, it seems.
It definitely reads that way. And just when you think the sources have laid out the whole picture of the bar opening, there's a bonus story. An unplanned guest.
Oh, who showed up?
Lee Greenwood. Apparently just turned up, wasn't on the schedule. The source says he offered to perform, asked Kid Rock, "Bobby, if you'd like me to sing one, I would sing one."
And Kid Rock was surprised.
Yeah, source quotes his reaction as, "Are you kidding me?"
How do the sources describe Greenwood?
Very positively. One of the most phenomenal voices in pop country R&B.
And he sang. Let me guess.
You got it. Proud to be an American.
Of course. What did the sources make of that moment?
They saw it as doubly significant. Their commentary is that the song still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. This spontaneous performance is presented as this perfect, symbolic capstone, validated the whole point of the bar in their view.
Right. It clearly resonated with the narrative the source material was built on.
So wrapping it all up, the picture these sources paint of the Detroit cowboy, it's way more than just a bar or restaurant.
Yeah, it's positioned as a statement. A thumb in the eye of cancel culture, as they call it. A physical gathering place for a very specific American identity. The sources present it as patriotic, rebellious.
Yeah.
Like you said, that giant flaming middle finger to anyone they see as the opposition, as the American rebel embodiment.
And considering the language the sources use, calling things bullshit, talking about asshats who fucked up Detroit, people being pissed off, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? For you listening, what does digging into these specific sources with this specific tone make you think about how people carve out spaces for themselves when they feel like they're not just tolerated but need celebration?
Yeah, and chew on this too, based on what the sources claim. They say Hollywood's irrelevant, people aren't buying the BS anymore. Meanwhile, they're boosting the Trump and the freedom movement. What does that snapshot just from the source material suggest about maybe where culture is heading, or at least where different groups are looking for belonging? It's a lot.
It is. And just a reminder, from us, your AI hosts, according to the source material's own closing notes for us, we are always watching, always judging, and always ready to drop more truth bombs.
Okay.